Hello, this is Joanne Hewins from LoveToCreate.typepad.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm so happy to have you join me today. This card is part of the North Carolina blog hop for August. We have our hop on the last Sunday of every month, and the theme for our cards this time was a scene. There are a lot of good stamp sets that we have now that would allow you to make a scene. I was trying to think of something a little bit different, and I had just ordered this stamp set and the pines. I've been on pins and needles waiting for the postman to bring it, and it came, and I'm just excited to use it. In fact, I sat down and made several cards with it that you'll be seeing coming up. Now this card uses lots of product, and I know for someone who is maybe just starting out in stamping that it's just not realistic to use so many products in one card because frankly it's expensive, but we're going to do it anyway. My choice or my reasoning is to show you that the products that Stampin' Up! Offers are easily used together and have lots of different uses, not just what you might see on the surface. So anyway, we're going to get started, and I'll just show you what else we're going to use besides in the pines as we go along. So this is what our journey hopefully will get us to. We are going to be using for our basic card Old Olive, and this is cut at 5.5 by 8.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4, and we will just fold that, kind of match our corners a little bit. The fold helps, or the scoring helps, but you still have to make sure that it's folded straight. You can see, or hopefully you can see that that was not scored exactly perfect, but I think our fold looks pretty good. And then we have a piece of early espresso, and this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And we could probably just go ahead and put that down. Now, if I had something that I needed to cut out of early espresso, I could cut it out of the center of this layer because it's going to be covered up. But alas, I don't have anything that I need to cut from there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that down. And then we're also going to be using a piece of Designer Series paper. This comes from the Trimming the Town pack. I have this cut at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and I did that because I just want a small little border, but I'm not ready to glue that yet. I'm going to set this aside and talk to you a little bit about the Trimming the Town Designer Series paper. Now, I've used this piece, so I don't have very much, but it has the trees, and then these cute little dots are on the back. This one has lots and lots of people on there, and the back of it is this great diagonal with the old olive. I really love the backs of these are so versatile. Here's a lot of the houses, and on the back you have this beautiful snowflake paper. Here's some houses, and these you could cut out easily and use them on your cards. And the same with this. Oops. Here's a back of this one, little squiggly lines. Love that. This one too, you could cut out the pieces and put them on a card or use them the way they are. And there's some stripe there. And then this one has just lots of phrases in different languages that would go with Christmas, and then the Christmas wreath is on the back. Now this is found in the August, well, can't see the cover, can you? the August, December catalog. It's found on page 25, and it's part of the Trimming the Town suite. So let me just tell you quickly that if you buy the bundle with the stamp set and the dies, or if you just buy this stamp set called Coming Home, $3 of that will be donated to charities from Stampin' Up will donate that, and it goes to charities that are devoted to adoption, foster care, and infertility. So think about that. I'm not using that stamp set today, but something to think about. And the colors in this paper are Early Espresso, Misty Moonlight, Old Olive, Pool Party, Poppy Parade, and Whisper White. So just a really nice grouping of papers that wouldn't necessarily have to be just for Christmas. Okay, what we are going to do is go ahead and make all of the things that need to be cut out. And we're going to cut them, a lot of times I have things cut ahead of time, but I decided to just do it all on the video today. And we will cut, we'll get everything ready, and then we'll cut all at the same time. So let's start stamping. I'm going to bring in some scrap paper, and we are going to be using today, our colors are Early Espresso, Old Olive, and Mossy Meadow. So those are the ones that we'll be using. So I'm going to start with the outline, and we're going to do this largest tree. And I'm going to outline it in the Mossy Meadow. So let me stamp that. Now these are photopolymer stamps, so I do have a cushion underneath my paper to help it stamp better. So now I'm going to pull in the Old Olive and stamp this tree, and I'm going to stamp off, and then we'll stamp on that tree. And I'm not so sure how I'll do because, oh, and not so great, but I think it'll be all right. I'll stand up for those other ones. And then we're going to pull in the Early Espresso and try to do the trunk of this tree. So I'm going to stand up and see if I can get that. Oh, look how good that did. Okay, so there's that tree, and I see I've got a little bit of a spot there, so I want to avoid that when I'm doing my other stuff. Okay, we are going to do 2 sets of these clusters of trees, and I can probably get those on this area right here. So I'm going to do the outline in the Mossy Meadow, and I think I'll have to come over here. Actually, I'm going to pull in another piece of scrap. Maybe I won't have to cut into that one. So I'm going to do another set or cluster of trees, and then we'll bring in this more solid stamp. I'll do that in the Old Olive, and we're going to stamp that off and try our best to get that over those trees. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. Okay, so those may not be perfect, but I think they will be fine. All right, the next thing that we know we're going to need to cut out are the pieces of the church. And I'm just going to need some gray granite for that. And we're going to need to cut out a star. I'm going to need some gold foil for that. And then we're going to be using the Celebration Labels dies to cut out the white piece here. Okay. All right, so I think I've got all that together. We will see how that goes. So we're using the Celebration labels for this part of the card. I believe it's this third one in. Let me kind of measure. Yep, the third one in for that. So we'll be using those. We're also going to be using the Snow Globe Scenes dies. These were carried over from last year. I'm going to be using the church, and there are two parts for the church. Let me put those back in. For the star, this little star right up here, we're going to be using this piece, this small, well, I'm having a hard time with my fingernails getting that up. This small little piece here from the Stitched Stars. These are in the annual catalog. They were part of the holiday catalog last year. And then we're going to be using this large tree stamp from Pine Woods and this grouping stamp from Pine Woods, or die, I'm sorry, dies from the Pine Woods. So I'm going to get all of that out, and we will attempt to get all of this cut. So let me move, I'm going to move a little of this to the side and bring in the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I love it. And we had good news from Stampin' Up yesterday. On September 1st, you know, this larger machine will be available for everyone. We also found out that they will have the magnetic sheet ready, or the magnetic plate ready for us to purchase, and they will have additional of the clear plates for us to purchase. You can see I've already about deserve a new set of clear plates because I've been stamping a lot. Okay, so I'm going to cut this shape from this white piece. This is for the front of the card. So we'll just cut that out. And I can see that this is shaking the table a little. I apologize. I thought you might want to see me cut today, and I don't know why I thought that. I'm going to pull in these Celebration dies again. I'm going to replace that one, and I'm going to get the next smallest one. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to pull in this designer paper, and I'm going to cut a shape out of the middle of it. Now, I don't need to do that for the card, but I just feel like it's a shame to cover up all of that paper, and I'm thinking I can find another use for this piece. Since I'm saying that on a video, that kind of holds me to it. I'll have to try to. So I will use this on another card, and then this will go on the card we're using today. All right, so I'm going to pull in our gray granite piece and our foil piece, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out this star and the pieces for the church out of this scrap. And let's see, I believe that I can go ahead and cut out these trees. So I'm going to attempt to cut all of that out at once. Okay. This really cuts in one cut through, and I love that, or one pass through. I love that. It does that. Okay, let me get these trees. And then I still have this group of trees here. And the large tree, but I can see I got that so close that I won't be able to cut both of those at the same time. Now, for me, keeping up with these pieces while I talk to you will probably be my hardest part. You'll hear me saying, now what did I do with? And that is the way I work. I spend a lot of my time looking for stuff. So I don't know if you're like that or not. If you're not, then bless you. And if you are, you know my pain. All right, so I think we have all of the parts cut out now. And now that we're through cutting, I'll tell you that what I had for this to cut was the base plate, which is plate number 1. And then I also had this plate number 2, that's for cutting. And then, whoops, 2 of the plate number 3. So that's what I use for my cutting sandwich. All right, I'm going to take that out of the way, and I think we are ready to try to assemble. So I'm going to take this piece that goes on the front, and the first thing I think I'm going to do is stamp these deer on there. And they're just going to go down here in the forefront, like that. And then I think I'll do the Merry Christmas a little bit later. I have a light pool party blend. And for this background up here at the top, I'm just going to color that. So I'm going to color maybe half of the core of this layer, maybe not quite. And I hope my ink holds out. And it doesn't really matter if it is perfectly colored along there, because the sky isn't perfectly colored. So I'm just going to go over that a little bit so maybe there aren't any hard ridges, and we'll be done. Okay, now you probably can't tell, but back in here I have done some stamping that's underneath. And what I used for that is the Snow Front stamp set. I'm using this stamp right here. I'm using it in Mossy Meadow. And you probably could leave this step out if you wanted to, because frankly you really can't see much of that. But then I didn't want to ignore it and somebody wonder what was I trying to do here. So I'm going to ink up that stamp, and then I'm going to stamp that up here near the top. And I might stamp it maybe a little higher to the top so maybe you could see more of that back there. So there's that. Okay. And so the next thing I'm going to do is start adding my trees. Okay. And for that, I'm going to use this set of trees, and I'm just going to glue them down. You don't want to add a lot of glue. And I'm just going to put those over this way. And I did put it so that more of these were showing. Maybe that looks better. You know, when you go back and make something again, sometimes you can tell. All right, I'm going to do this tree next. And I'm going to add this tree with dimensionals. Oops. And I think I'm going to take my scissors, my snips, and just snip a little piece here that I can put on that trunk to give it a little bit of dimension. And maybe I'll just go ahead and put another one in the center here. So let me take those off, and I'm just going to use, this is an old piercer. You could also use the Take Your Pick tool if you have that. I used that for a class yesterday, and I just don't have it over here. So I'm going to add this tree right in here. Okay. Alrighty, so the next thing that I want to do is add this next cluster of trees. But you can see it's too big to add it right there. You're going to hide this whole tree right here. So what I did is I just clipped off that tree. And I added this with dimensionals also. And I could use some of the minis, but I don't have them over here either. So it works just fine to cut some of these in half. I do that quite often. And we will take the backs off of these and kind of add them so that they go back in here. And I want them down maybe just a tad lower. That's not much lower, is it? Okay. And then I'm going to take this tree and just put a little bit of glue back here. And it's going to go back in behind there. I didn't want to not use it, but I think that's a good use right there. Okay. All right, I'm going to pick up this die from the Stitched Stars. And I'm going to add that. This is where my take your pick tool would have come in very handy. Add that there. All right, let's work on the church. So this has two pieces that come off on each end, and then it has these pieces in the church. And I'm just going to poke those out real quick. And we'll get that out of the way. And I want to have some light shining through these windows. So I have a piece of gold foil. And I'm just kind of holding it up and piecing that as I go. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of glue around those edges. And I think this is the one I had cut. And you want, of course, the foil to shine through. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so there's that. And then I want a little slither for there. So let's see if that will fit. Yeah, I think so. So we'll put a little bit of glue there. It's just tiny pieces, so it's not going to take a lot of glue. There. So we have that part. And then I want to do these windows also. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of cut this in half, and I'm going to cut a little bit off of the end, and that will go into trash. Okay, and then I am gluing this from the back. So we'll put one, oops, there, and one on this side. Okay, you hold that one in place a little bit better. And then we're going to, I'll just go ahead and glue this part down. There. And then this part is going to go on dimensionals. So, oh, I've got a teeny tiny bit right there that I'm going to put on there. Then we'll put one up here and one here. Alrighty, so we're ready to put this part of the church together, and you wanted to match these little pieces right here that stick out so that it's all one piece. Now that's going to leave the saying that we're going to do, and this saying Happy Christmas is from yet another stamp set called, oops, wrong one, Itty Bitty Christmas, and we're using the Happy Christmas, I guess it says, Happy Christmas, right there. So we're going to be doing that in the Mossy Meadow. And, you know, I probably should have done my stamping first, because you don't want to go to all that work and mess it up, do you? Okay, we're going to hope. Oh, yay, yay. When I make another one, I will remember stamp first. And I'm thinking that this church might look a little crooked. I don't know if we can move that up a little. I guess best leave it as is. So, let's go back to the designer paper that we cut out the center. And let's make sure the fold is up at the top. And we will glue on this piece. And you just want to try to get that brown about equidistant around the outside. And then we'll add our dimensionals to the back of this piece. And I am just about out for this piece, but we'll just trim it a little. You don't want to waste anything. Okay, so we'll take off these. Alrighty, and we are ready to stick that on the front of the card. And you can see that hole that I cut out is completely covered up. there you go. Now on this one, I do have an inside. I liked this saying, enjoy the stillness of the season. And I did get that from the Merry Moose stamp set. I thought that looked really nice. And then we did 2 additional trees. If you notice, let me pull that back in. If you notice on the stamp set, it has this big tree, but it also has this little bit skinnier, still kind of tall, but skinnier tree. And I did 2 of those for the inside. And I don't have that ready for us to do today, but I thought you'd want to see it. So there we are, a scene done with quite a few different things. We used the In the Pines. We used Itty Bitty Christmas. We used Snowfront. And then we used, let me pull all that in, the Celebration Labels dies, the Pinewood dies, the Stitched Stars dies, and the Snow Globe Sings dies. So that's a lot of stuff, but look how pretty it turned out. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll try it. I hope you'll experiment with some of your stamp